Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be doing a review of these Modest Vintage Player Pro Deluxe boxing gloves. So stay tuned. Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing a close-up weigh-in and review on these Modest Vintage Player Pro Deluxe vintage tan leather boxing gloves in lace-ups. I was really interested in getting these gloves for a while now, just because I really do love some vintage style boxing equipment. And although the actual glove structure themselves is not designed like a vintage style boxing glove, with the side note that Modest Vintage Player does make an older style boxing glove. This uses their tan leather that kind of gives it that old school look. So again, just to kind of give you guys a close-up before we do the review, it's full leather construction with the MVP embossed on the back of the flat cuff. These are 14 ounces. You can see it has some black piping around the bottom of the cuff. Nice long black laces that those comes with. No synthetic on this glove whatsoever. And the actual leather is actually really nice. It kind of reminds me a little bit of suede in the way it feels. And you can actually see I've been using these gloves for about a month now. And one thing I do recommend if you do get these gloves is that you use some water repellent and spray it on the gloves before you use it. Otherwise, you'll start to get some staining like you see there. So, you know, as you train with these gloves, you'll obviously sweat and it's going to get on this and it'll stain it over a period of time. So here's the stitching on the back. I use white stitching. Other than just that MVP logo on the back of the cuff, there's really nothing else on this glove with logos or any kind of designs. Attached thumb right there. The grip bar is a pretty good size, nice and dense. No ventilated holes. Again, double stitching on the palm as well as right down here. Stitching actually looks really clean together with the leather. Again, you can see some staining that's from, you know, sweat from training. It says Genuine Leather Pro. And this company is actually based out of New Zealand, but I think these gloves are actually made in Pakistan. And the inside is this nice satin liner on the inside, really nice and smooth and comfortable. So these are 14 ounces. Go ahead and put these on the scale. You can see how they look side by side. Give you a look at the right glove. Again, so you can see some of the water or the sweat stains from me using these gloves. So again, highly recommended if you do get these, they use water repellent. You can see a line right there. I'm assuming that's what they use, a little a marker or crayon that you use when they mark the leather hides. But overall, I mean, you can see the construction on these gloves are actually really nice, really clean. The leather looks really good as well. So let's go ahead and put these on the scale. See if they're true to weight, or at least close to it. We'll start off with the right glove. Again, these are supposed to be 14 ounces and they're right at 13.8, so pretty close. And the left glove is right at 13.8, so they're exactly the same weight and pretty much close to 14 ounces. So let's go ahead and do the review. Hey, what's up, guys? Carlo here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of these Modest Vintage Player Pro Deluxe boxing gloves in the tan color scheme. You can see it's a full genuine leather tan glove by Modest Vintage Player. This particular model comes in either 12 or 14 ounces. And you can also choose the hand compartment size. So when you go onto the Modest Vintage website, you can choose between small, medium, large, and extra large in terms of hand size. So I thought that was kind of cool and unique in the fact that you can pick the kind of hand size you want with these gloves. So it gives it a little bit more of a customized feel. You can also get this in a dark brown, which is a much darker color of shade of brown. I decided to go with the tan. I just thought it looked cooler. To each their own. And Modest Vintage Player, the company itself, actually specializes in making a lot of vintage leather products. So not just boxing gloves. They have baseball mitts, baseballs, I believe footballs, duffel bags, all kinds of different leather equipment. So they're not just boxing gloves. They have other leather goods as well. I believe the company is based out of New Zealand. These particular gloves, I believe, there was no indication on their website when I searched or any tags on the inside of the glove, but just based on the way they're constructed, the way they look and feel, I think that these are either made in Pakistan or India, most likely. Again, I'm not too sure about the website. I couldn't really see anything on there that indicated where these were manufactured, but typically when a company manufactures a product in their own home, their homeland, if they're made there, they usually take a lot of pride in that, and they'll advertise that, like, hey, these gloves are made in New Zealand, handmade here, or winning gloves are made in Japan, or 1v1s are made here in America, proudly made in this country. So typically when I see a glove that doesn't have the origin, I usually kind of assume it's usually either made in the major countries like Pakistan, India, China, are pretty much the three standard countries where boxing equipment is typically made. So you can see it's actually a really great looking glove. I do like the tan color. Right off the bat, you can see it has a little bit more of a shorter profile, but a little bit wider. Sizing wise, these gloves kind of remind me of like the Title Boxing AR Tech, the Title Boxing Gel World gloves in the type of profile they have. Not so much the material or how they feel, but just the width of the glove. You can see it's a little bit wider. So it's not a compact glove by any means. If you're looking for a very compact feeling glove, then these probably wouldn't be what you're looking for. And you can actually see just the width of it right here. The glove does incorporate multi-layer foam. That's definitely more on the denser side, so it offers a good amount of protection. And design-wise, you can see the only thing other than this tan leather that's really unique is that it has this Modest Vintage MVP logo that's embossed into the leather. The leather itself actually is really nice quality. It kind of has a suede-like feel to it. And one thing I mentioned earlier in the close-up is if you do plan on getting these gloves, to make sure you, and you plan to use them, make sure you put some water repellent like spray on this before you use it. Otherwise, you will run into some staining. Again, this leather will soak up whatever you put on it, water, sweat, and over time, you'll start to see it really get darker and stain. That, which is not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of people like that, especially when it comes to these vintage style gloves. It kind of gets that old patina to it and kind of that worn down look that you're looking for. So, you know, some people might like it. Some people may like to keep these clean. It's completely up to you, but do keep that in mind if you do get these gloves. The darker brown, I'm assuming probably doesn't stain as much, or is not as noticeable because of how much darker the shade of brown is compared to these tan gloves right here. So just to kind of rotate and show you guys the glove again, full leather construction. You can see the palm side has double stitching throughout, nice large grip bar there, a leather attached thumb. Padding wise, they give you a good amount of padding on both the back of the hand as well as the inside of the wrist. The inside, I'd say, has maybe 3/4 of soft foam padding that kind of rotates all the way up and over to the palm side. So if you're into kickboxing or Muay Thai, I definitely think these would be suitable. It gives you a little bit of protection up here as well, so you can parry kicks, knees, and other strikes. You can see that it has black piping with black laces, and the inside has that nice tricot smooth liner on the inside that's really comfortable. So I really like that. It doesn't bunch up when you put your hand in here. Now, quality-wise, these gloves are actually really nice. I really wasn't really knowing what to expect when I purchased these gloves, just because you see a lot of marketing for these on Instagram and Facebook. You see a lot of Modest Vintage Player ads for their boxing equipment, as well as all of the other stuff. So I wasn't really too sure what I was going to end up getting, especially at the price point that these are at. Typically, some of the more expensive vintage-style gloves usually are pretty expensive. If you get yourself an old pair of like the original Everlast or Florist gloves, or even some of the older Amber Gollum gloves are typically pretty rare, and if you do find a pair, they're usually pretty expensive. So I really didn't know what to expect. But quality-wise, I mean, I really can't complain very much. The stitching all looks really nice, done really well. You can see the palm has double stitching. You can see where they kind of came back to reinforce the edges right there. So they kind of doubled over on some of the stitching right there. If anything, I would kind of notate, in this just being more nitpicky than anything, you'll actually notice on part of the gloves where you see the pen marks that they use to mark the leather. And I'm assuming that's where they use to mark to kind of cut each section of leather out. But you can see where the index finger meets the thumb. That looks really clean. The stitching looks good right there. The leather is bonded nicely to the actual foam. You can see how the foam looks and the leather looks on the fingertip compartment. No imperfections with the leather on the palm side. It has a nice kind of suede and genuine leather feel to it. It feels really nice. It doesn't feel cheap. The back of the cuff looks pretty good as well. The hinge point right there. The back of the cuff, again, has about, I'd say, a 1/2 inch of padding right there. It's a little firmer than the padding on the wrist side. But everything is really done nice and clean right there. The punch surface looks really good as well. No bubbling on the foam. The glove itself is a little bit on the top heavy side, not super top heavy, but a little bit. So you can see a little bit of sagging there. Not too bad, but just something I noticed as well. Thankfully, they give you enough of padding on the back of the wrist to kind of help support the balance of the glove. But overall, the quality on these gloves are actually really nice, pretty sharp. I couldn't really find any imperfections and no issues with durability as of yet as I've been using these gloves. Now the actual comfort of the gloves, you put your hand in here. And they're really comfortable. The first thing you notice is going to be the liner. You know, that tricot liner they use is really nice and smooth, very soft feeling. You don't have any extra layers or any bunching up on the inside, especially around the knuckle or the finger compartment, which is good. Thumb placement is really good too. Nice parallel thumb. I feel like companies are starting to get better and better in regards to making a comfortable thumb. That's probably one of the biggest critiques a lot of boxers or fighters have in general, is just the way a thumb feels, especially when they're trying to make a fist. And that can change the whole dynamic of how somebody feels and the way they throw their punches, just alone on thumb position. So the fact that they have a nice thumb is a really good thing with this glove. Then the finger compartment is pretty good. I wish it was a little bit deeper. And another thing is they put a big, I would say maybe 1/8 of an inch piece of foam right over the stitching right here. And I've always been a big proponent for covering the stitching, but I feel like the piece, the foam they put on here is too thick. So what that doesn't allow you to do is to really dig your fingers in to roll your hand and make a fist. I feel like it kind of inhibits your hand from making a really good fist because that piece of foam is so thick. So it's almost like your finger has to go on top of that foam in order for you to make a fist. And I feel like the finger compartment could be a little bit deeper. I got these in the hand compartment size medium because I figure my hands are about typical medium-sized hands based on the measurements. But I wish it was just a little bit deeper, and then they made that little foam piece either smaller or just roll it right on top of the stitching and not add too much thickness to it. I feel that would be a little bit more comfortable. Wrist support feels really good, nice and snug, and when everything is tied up, it doesn't feel restrictive. Cuff is a nice height. It's not too long, doesn't drop down too far on my forearm. The back of the glove feels really good as well. So finger placement, thumb placement feels really good. The glove itself isn't too wide. The fact that you can choose your hand size makes a big difference, I'm sure. It doesn't feel like my hand moves around up and down, side to side at all. So it feels really good, especially once I have my hand wraps on. Everything fits really nicely. Protection and performance, you can see these gloves offer really good pop. The foam itself is a multi-layer foam, and you can actually see it has a firmer density to it. So these gloves definitely be suitable for sparring. They're not rock solid, and they're not super soft like a puncher style glove. You're kind of getting a little bit more on the protective side with these gloves. So you can really sink your shots in with these, really put a lot of power into your shots, and it does a really good job of absorbing the shock and distributing the shock throughout the glove. But again, you can see that multi-layer foam is definitely on the more firm side. It does have more of a rounded punching surface, which I'm not a huge fan of, but eventually that's gonna kind of break down as you continue to use these gloves and kind of flatten out and really conform to your fist size as well as just the shape of your fist itself. But performance on these gloves are really nice as well. Now cost-wise, these gloves, when I purchased them, I believe were on sale for like 79 bucks, but their regular resale, or should I say the regular MSRP is $109, and that's what's currently going for right now on the website. So $79, I think these gloves are actually a really good deal considering the quality on them. They look really nice. You know, if you're looking for a vintage leather style glove, then these would be definitely suitable for that. They also carry some of their vintage gloves as well, the ones that look really old school, like the boxers used to use in the 40s and the 50s that have definitely more of an awkward thumb. The glove just looks a lot older. It doesn't have the same features and ergonomics and technology that these newer style gloves have. So this is kind of a blend between new style technology with an old school look. That's kind of where I would place these gloves. But for $79 is a really good deal. For $109, I'd say they're not bad. I would say that once you hit that $100 bracket, you get into really deep territory as there's a lot of different competitors. However, the one big advantage with these, again, they are nice quality, and if you're really specifically looking for a vintage looking glove, then I think this is probably one of the best ones out there for the price point. So If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you guys leave them down below in the comments box. I'll put the link in the description box where you can find these gloves. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Peace.